Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're gonna go over 5 things we have learned about marriage.
Yes, and keep in mind, we're definitely not experts.
No.
We are learning as we go, like
Yep.
a lot of other married couples out there. But we've had some good influences and whatnot in our life from, parents and other couples that we've looked up to.
Yep.
And then we've just kind of learned from our own experience too. Wanted to share some of our key learnings in the hopes that it can help some other young
Right.
couples out there.
Right. All right, Dylan, can you name off the 5 before we get started?
Yeah, let's hit the 5 quick, and then we'll dive into each of these a little bit deeper. So,
All right.
number 1 is understanding your partner's personality traits,
Yep.
characteristics, and funny quirks. Number 2, visiting each other's spaces. We'll define what that means
Soon.
going forward. Number 3, balancing independence and togetherness.
Yep.
Number 4, relationship maintenance, which doesn't sound too fun, but we'll get into that. And then number 5, it's easier to change yourself than someone else.
I love that one. Let's get into it.
Number 1 is understanding your partner's or spouse's quirks, personality traits, unique characteristics, smaller day-to-day things such as how someone organizes the house, diet preferences, or, how she likes to eat food versus how I like to eat food, or small little things that might annoy her that don't annoy me, like me throwing the jacket on the couch,
Yep.
or how I organize something in the kitchen or bedroom, etc. Something like that, just understanding some of those things that she actually likes, because you don't want to annoy someone on a day-to-day basis. And usually they're small things that if we just make little adjustments to,
Right.
she's not going to have to constantly nag me about it, or I'm not going to have to constantly remind her about something.
Right.
So just keeping those smaller things in mind. So it can be those small day-to-day things, or it can be deeper behavior or personality traits, differences on how we approach finances, money, spending, or differences on how we approach parenting or disciplining our kids. Each of us come from different experiences, and a lot of the ways that we do things were how our parents taught us or did things with us. So coming from different households, that's just a common place for conflict with some of those small daily behaviors or some of those deeper differences in terms of personality. So just being aware of that, understanding how you both like to approach things, sure that you're coming up with something that's going to work for you.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying about quirks, but also remembering that these quirks are what make us unique, right? And that's what makes us us. Some of these things are the things that brought us together. So understanding that, yes, sometimes they drive me nuts, but this is why I love you. So yeah.
100%. Yeah, none of us want to live with a clone of ourselves. So some of those differences actually can bring, some fun.
So number 2 is visiting each other in each other's space. I love this one because it's so true to any relationship. And we heard this a couple years ago on TD Jakes, and we were watching his sermon, and I was like, true is that? Especially for someone like me and Dylan, where we're kind of opposites, right? Some things I like to do that Dylan might not enjoy that much, same vice versa. But knowing what fills Dylan's cup and what fills my cup, and Dylan come in and saying, hey, Tondi, I know you love to dance and listen to music, and him come in and listen to music and enjoying what makes me happy.
Zimbabwean music.
Yes. And for Dylan, he loves to go on hikes and he loves nature. Growing up, I never went on hikes. I never went swimming, never did any of those things. These are things that fill his cup. And I love visiting that space for you because I know that that really brings you a lot of joy. I also think that it's expanded my life so much because imagine you're in a relationship with someone and you're not taking that time to come out of your comfort zone. Amazing is it that when you visit someone in someone's space, you really get to expand yourself as well. So yeah, I love that one.
All right, number 3, balancing independence and togetherness.
Yeah.
So we think this is super important and something that we've been really intentional about.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's basically just making sure that you're doing things together. We're big on that. That's my default, is that I like to do things as a family.
Yeah.
But we do need to make sure that we're giving some time and space for individual hobbies, enjoyments, and time alone. And essentially, some of the things that we do is like, for example, I go play soccer at least once a week.
Yep.
Tondi kind of, just lets me go off and do that.
Yep.
And she handles the kids that night,
Yep.
Does dinner with them, does their hair. And I really get to go off and have my own time playing soccer. I do enjoy getting outdoors and doing some work with my hands or building things or working in the yard, whatever it might be. So just making sure I have some time to actually do those things. And then for Tondi, for example, she likes to go out and do some shopping or self-care. Where she gets
nails,
her
hair. I mean, I just feel like it's so important, self-care and that like allowance of being independent and that togetherness in the relationship. You have to take care of yourself and fill your cup first, right? Before you can really bring your the best self in a relationship or as a family, especially now with kids.
100%. Yeah. And we've both recently gone on trips by ourselves. So I went to Costa Rica with some real estate friends. And Tondi let me go. I was it was by myself. She kept the kids.
And I went to Canada.
And she went
with
to
sisters.
Canada and had like a girls trip.
And
so I stayed with the kids for 2 days. And I hit up the grandparents to make sure I got some help. Same thing with her. But we sometimes we do that and we just are just by ourselves with the kids. So at the end of the trip, you came back, kind of refreshed, renewed, had that time to yourself. And then when you are apart, you start missing each other a little bit more. You start annoying each other sometimes day to day. So when you actually get some time apart,
you're like, wow.
You come back refreshed, but then you also start missing each other.
I think this is just such an important thing in a relationship.
Number 4. So we kind of titled this one relationship maintenance. And that sounds a little like technical or not that fun. But in general, what we mean by that is, the day-to-day, especially when you have kids or, busy jobs or just, life in general can get really busy and hectic. And you want to make sure that you actually set apart some time to actually work on your relationship and grow. So maybe that is going to couples therapy or something like that. And I don't mean it in a negative way. Just being open to, learning, getting feedback, understanding, trying to build that deeper relationship. So it might be a date night, going out and actually talking about, what we're doing well, what we're not doing that well, what we could work on, what we want to prioritize going forward.
Being on the same page, really being on the same page.
Even if you do understand each other's quirks or little things, there might be some things that still continue to bother you or annoy you. But if you actually bring those to somebody in the moment, it can become like a heated argument or, just feel like you're nitpicking or, pestering someone. But if you have actually check in once a week on certain things like finances or how your relationship's doing, you can actually then bring some of those things up that may be still bothering you or you feel like you're not on the same page or are creating some conflict. And it's just a more open space to bring those things forward, and your partner is gonna be more open to listening to you when it's a set time where you both know, hey, we're sitting down, we're talking about our relationship.
So in terms of like some of our weekly and monthly meetings that we have, one of them is like our monthly finance one. And Dylan is big in making sure our family finances are very organized. And honestly, I'm not really. So what Dylan does is monthly, he'll set up the table. He'll put my favorite snacks there. I'm ready to come to the table and talk about anything because it's, you know what I mean? He makes it really fun.
That's a great example because like finances, money, we talked about that. People can have big differences there. And beforehand, before we kind of set some of this aside to actually work on a relationship, work on, prioritize some of those things that we wanted to do, I would just start talking about finances or these different bills or different goals that we wanted to do in terms of like investing. So, and I would just talk about that constantly. It would be a terrible time. She'd be trying to like do something with the kids or get them dressed. And about this though, and it just didn't work out well. So now that we've actually set that time aside, it's so much more productive, and it takes like 10-15 minutes.
Absolutely.
And we just do it once a month now.
Number 5 it's easier to change yourself than changing someone else. I feel like this is a
Facts.
common thing that happens in relationship. You go into a relationship and you say, ooh, he's perfect, but I'm just going to change this little thing about him. Or, ooh, she's great, but there's these couple things that I don't really love about her, but I'm going to change those about her. And being in a relationship, being in marriage, we have quickly learned you can't change someone else. It is not your responsibility to change anyone else. All you can do is change yourself. And some of those things that are those differences are really those differences that brought you together, right? And also just knowing that you have to communicate these things. There's things that might be really bad that you have to talk about and change, but it's not my responsibility to change Dylan, nor is it his responsibility to change me. It's about communicating together as a couple and understanding that these differences did bring us together, and that if there's something I need to work on personally or something that's bothering me, I need to really look within and see, is it a deeper issue with me? Pretty much.
Illustrates the point of like ownership,
yes,
and not putting the blame or
yes,
on something else.
Absolutely.
You're letting yourself off the hook, and you're not gonna grow as a person if you're constantly just blaming someone else or something else. So you've really realized, like you said, it's almost a hopeless task to try to change someone else. It doesn't mean that you have to 100% let your partner off the hook.
Right.
And not raise concerns, but typically it's easier to try to work on yourself or change your reaction to certain things.
Absolutely.
Or try to look inward and see why something like that is bothering you.
Exactly.
To the point where, you're actually getting mad at someone else for what they're doing.
Yeah, and to add to that, I feel like it all ends up being the perspective. We know that we mean well in this relationship for our family, for ourselves, and how we treat each other and others, right? So we understanding that there is good meaning behind some of maybe the differences we have. So it ends up being like, what is the perspective you're going to take on that situation?
Love it.
Yeah.
All right,
good.
Hopefully that's helpful. We're going to continue to learn and evolve and grow as a married couple.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to put some of this out there in the hopes that it helps you all.
Yes.
But we'd love to hear your thoughts, like things that you do.
Right. What are some of your 5 things?
Marriage? Yeah. What are some big learnings you've had?
Yeah. Love it.
Have a great day.